let's get into it because Gus is also bringing up the WB poll that was on the Digital Bits website. So apparently Warner Brothers is surveying. I think you have to be a Warner A-list member. They're surveying a bunch of people on their Warner A-list, and apparently anybody can join, or there's a process to it, but it's not like special, Warner Brothers insiders that can be in it. Like, I think anybody can join it, but it's like a process to get into it. I don't really know. But anyway, let me bring up this list because somebody leaked it, because it's a very exclusive club. When you're inside, you have the list, but somebody leaked the list and then Digital Bits put it up on their website. So let me bring that up right now, and we can look at some of these titles. So I remember I did a video on this maybe back in February or March, because they had a certain number of titles then that were up to vote on. And from what I was seeing, there's a lot of the same ones, but there's also some new ones as well. So that's why I wanted to get into this. But I am on the Digital Bits, and let's get into this. Now then, the big news today is that Warner Brothers Discovery Home Entertainment has apparently conducted another of its A-list community surveys. Like I said, they did one earlier this year, asking which of its many catalog titles fans would like to see the studio release in 4K Ultra HD. So they're basically putting up a bunch of titles. They're having people vote on it to see what they should be putting out on 4K next, gauging the interest, which is kind of smart. It's kind of smart. But some of these titles, I will say, this is where I'll kind of bitch a little bit. Some of these are just no-brainers, and they have no business being on a list to vote on. You should just know these things are going to sell if you put them out. And we'll get into it, but it's like some of these I understand, putting them on a survey list, wanting to gauge interest, seeing if you can actually sell it on 4K. But other ones of these are just like, yeah, of course we want that. Like, why would you put that on a list for people to vote on? Because that's only going to take away votes from maybe some other smaller titles, that could get some 4K love and attention that people would buy, but they don't want to vote on those because they want to vote on the big ones to make sure we get those. So I don't like the idea of putting like huge titles that should get 4Ks anyway, because you put out 4K of God, what did they put out? They put out 4K of the Maltese Falcon, and which Maltese Falcon's a classic film. I get it. East of Eden, Rio Bravo, but it's like some of these titles, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, we got to vote on. Like why? Like these some of these are no brainers. Should already be coming out, and they're taking away attention from some of the smaller titles that people would buy, but they can't vote on, so they're just going to think that people don't want them. So that's my gripe. Does anybody agree with that? Anyway, and of course, as happens every time, the details of that list got leaked immediately online, and so it becomes something we have an obligation to report on here at the Bits. In any case, dozens of people have shared the information either privately or widely online because, of course, they're going to detail. They're enthusiasts. I wonder if there's some kind of rule in the A-list program. Can you not share it? Can you not leak it? If they find out you leaked it, are you kicked out of the A-list club? I wonder if there's that going on. Having said that, it's probably unreasonable to assume that the studio will get around to every one of these titles anytime soon. But if more of them start being released in 4K UHD, that would certainly represent a big improvement in the studio's 4K catalog release strategy to date. So which titles were on this list? Read on here. All right, so according to many sources, Warner's A-list 4K poll included the following possibilities. I'm going to read off this list, guys. It is a very impressive list. Them from 1954, which I believe is a sci-fi film. I have not seen them. We got Forbidden. I think these are, no, they're not in year order, chronological order. Forbidden Planet from 1956. Speed Racer from 2008, which I think is a Wachowski's film. I have not seen Speed Racer. I've heard some really good things about it, though. I just remember it looking a little too kiddie when it came out in 2008, and I didn't feel compelled to see it. Lethal Weapon is on this list, 1987. Keep in mind, it's just the first one, okay? Why wouldn't you do a 4-film 4K box set Warner Brothers. Like that should have done been out. Like, what are you all doing? Like, come on. Like that's a huge title. Those would sell in enormous amounts. Like, how would they not? Lethal Weapon is one of the most iconic action franchises of all time. Why is that on a survey list? That doesn't make any sense. But it gets worse, guys. We'll get into it. The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2 should have already been out. They should have put those out on 4K when they released The Conjuring 3. They could have put them out in a pack to sell them, and it was the right time. But we are getting a fourth Conjuring, so maybe they'll do those when the fourth Conjuring comes out. So those are on the list. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is on the list, which, again, ridiculous. That should have been out. That should have been out. Amadeus, like, why is this on a list? Like, I think there was a rumor of Amadeus coming into 4K like 2 years ago. Like, I was really kind of hoping that was coming to the Criterion Collection this year for the 40th anniversary. It still might, but the fact that it's on this list is kind of telling me that it won't. Because why would they put it on a list to vote on unless they were just trying to throw people off? But Amadeus is on this list. THX 1138, which is the George Lucas film. I think his movie before he did Star Wars. Tim Burton's Corpse Bride 2005. That would be a cool. I mean, Coraline's a great 4K from what people say, so I'm sure Corpse Bride will look really good. Barry Lyndon, another one that should be in the Criterion Collection. So again, we need that one. That's a Stanley Kubrick film. Like you all should have put that out already. This is the big one, guys. This is the big one. They've got a Nightmare on Elm Street 7-film collection on here. Okay. They've got a Nightmare on Elm Street 7-film collection on here. Now, earlier this year, they had a Nightmare on Elm Street on here. Just the first one. Now they have specifically the 7-movie collection. The 7-movie collection is on here, which again, why the hell is that on here? Like that, if you already have it in your mind that you could possibly do that, you should have did it. Like that should have been worked on. You all should be working on that right now. How do you not know that a Nightmare on Elm Street collection, like, do they not pay attention to anything that's going on with physical media right now? Are they that dumb to not know what's going on, that horror sells, that Friday the 13th is releasing multiple box sets like all the time, and we got a Hellraiser box set, we got a Chucky box set, we got a freaking Psycho box set, we've got Halloween 4Ks, a Halloween box set, we got all these different horror franchises on physical media, except for Nightmare on Elm Street, one of the biggest horror franchises of all time. It could be argued it is the biggest horror franchise of all time. But you can't do a 7-film collection for that just automatically. You got to put that on a list. Like that's just crap to me. It just crap to me. But at least it's on a list. And look, I think that most people on the A list will probably vote for Nightmare on Elm Street. Maybe not. Maybe there's some non-horror fans on there. Some people won't vote for it. Or maybe they value some of the other releases and movies more. But a lot of people have to be voting for a Nightmare on Elm Street 7-film collection. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for us. Do it for the physical media community as a whole, because that is one of the most wanted releases of all time, I would say at this point. I'd say that might be the biggest release that hasn't been released yet, in my opinion. Nightmare on Elm Street 7-film collection. It's on a survey. Are you kidding me? Demolition Man. Why you put Demolition Man on a survey? Again, that should have been out last year. What are you all doing? That would have been the 30th anniversary. AI, artificial intelligence. Okay. Gravity. That was supposed to come out like 3 years ago. Okay. Logan's Run. Okay. Gremlins 2, the new batch. I want this. I understand why this is on a survey. People don't love it like they do the first one. It's my favorite Gremlins film, so I 100% want it on 4K. But I get why it's on the survey. Gremlins 2. Lolita, 1962, 1997. I'm not a huge fan of Lolita, the Kubrick film, and I haven't seen the remake. Boogie Nights, 100% should have already been on 4K. That's a classic film. And I think that Criterion should do that. Like Criterion Collection should be putting out Boogie Nights. Some of these titles are just ridiculous, guys. Blade Trilogy, So they've already done the first Blade, but they're putting Blade Trilogy here. So I guess 2 and 3 they're going to put out. I mean, look, I don't want to spoil nothing, but there's been some Blade news. Blade is kind of back in the limelight a little bit. I'm not going to say how or why or when, but he's kind of back in the limelight, a little bit popular right now. This is the perfect time to do a Blade 3 film collection, especially considering who's in the third Blade. I'll just leave it at that. Eyes Wide Shut, 4K, again, Kubrick film. It should have been out. Soylent Green, 1973. Constantine, 2005. Seven. I mean, that's a done deal, I thought. Like, you already put out a pre-order of a box set, and Fincher's come out and said he's working on the 4K. So why is that on a survey? I don't know. Under Siege, 1992. Okay. Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, 1995. I didn't even see this. Bond 6 film collection, Sean Connery. So they're going to put out some Bond 4Ks, but just the 6 Sean Connery films, which is very interesting. I'm not going to complain about that. I get that. I understand why you wouldn't put out the whole series. Again, 4K is very expensive, and we're talking like 25 movies. Even though, like, I think all the Daniel Craig movies have 4Ks. But I want a Pierce Brosnan collection personally. Like, that's the Bond I grew up with. But I get it. You want to test the water, put out a 6 film collection, Sean Connery Bond films. If they do well, if it sells well, then maybe move on to Roger Moore, maybe move on to Pierce Brosnan, and then eventually maybe do an entire box set, if they keep selling well. So I understand that it's probably a good business strategy to just do 6 Bond films on 4K. But again, it's Bond. It's like that should be worked on. Like, that would sell. Bullets from 1968, The Haunting, Green Lantern. Who the is asking for the Green Lantern? I thought the Green Lantern already had a 4K, to be honest. But look, I'm not going to be a snob about it. Green Lantern, if you want it on 4K, theatrical and extended cuts, it's on the survey. I just want to know, who is the jackass? Because I know there's maybe one jackass out there that's on that Warner A list. Who's the jackass that voted for Green Lantern and didn't vote for Nightmare on Elm Street 7 movie box set? I know there's one person out there that did that. Okay. And I want names. All right. All right. That's it, guys. I ranted and raved long enough about that list. I'm sure you guys have some interesting comments in the comments section. But let me know what you guys think about that. And yeah, let's move on. 。